Antti Pentikainen is the founding executive director of the Мэри Хоч Center for Reconciliation, which is based in Arlington, Virginia. Antti is also a reconciliation and research professor at the George Mason University School of Conflict Analysis and Resolution, as well as a visiting scholar at the United States Institute of Peace. Antti was formerly Special Envoy for Finland's Prime Minister on the Refugee Crisis and an advisor to the United Nations Assistant Secretary General on the Prevention of Genocide. At the UN, he established a network for religious and traditional peacemakers. Antti has a master's in theology from Helsinki University, and we were brought together by the consultations that the State Department initiated around the Summit for Democracy in recent months.
It's very beautiful and honor to be here and speak after Tatiana and Pavel and Boris and Lyubo. I have just one remark regarding the war in Ukraine, and then a couple of remarks on situation in Russia. My proposal for you and the world leaders is to move into considering any use of nuclear weapon as an act of war against the entire world, including taking nuclear facilities, using their waste, or otherwise them as a military target that creates nuclear waste threat. And out of this act of war against the whole world, this country should automatically be excluded of every structure, economical collaboration, sport, and other collaboration, only allowed to return once they hand over those who took the decision into a special international criminal court, where they will be persecuted automatically for this war crime against the whole world. And therefore, not to have nuclear counterattack as a primary target, especially in the situation as Ukraine, when the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is being as a potential, act of war. This would be, could increase the threshold of not using those kind of acts. My remarks regarding Russia is, and a few words of advice for you very brave human rights democracy actors. And a reminder for all of us is that what dictators mostly fear is their own people. And therefore, the world should never forget that the main enemy for dictatorships are their own people. And the main enemy for President Putin is the Russian people. And an encouragement for the activists is that there are studies that you only need 3% of people rising up non-violently, that they will be able to topple a dictatorship. This has a lot of evidence internationally, so you do not need 50% or even 30%, sometimes 3% on the streets blocking the normal life, acting as we have seen many stepping up, usually triggers a process where dictatorships fail. My second point in general is that I think this is a fight for the Russian soul. And there are many of us who understand the value of Russian culture, and we are missing the contribution of this beautiful culture for our world. I just want to make an anecdote that housewife from St. Petersburg gave birth to the Finnish culture. She had learned in St. Petersburg the private home salon cultural evenings. And out of her boredom, not being happy in Helsinki, she started to convene young artists in her house. And out of those convenings from Elisabeth Järnefelt came Jean Sibelius, our composer, national composer, our most significant national poets, composers, other artists, and we are missing this contribution of the Russian culture into the world. The third remark is that what you said, Dmitry, about the mistakes by the democratic actors after the Cold War, I think the whole world has to revisit what we did wrong. Why did we leave this feeling of humiliation for the Russian people, which made them pray for autocrats and non-democratic forces? and how to avoid the same mistake in the post-Ukraine war era that, God willing, comes very soon. And I think what Boris proposed in terms of level of martial aid, connected with deeper commitment of integration and following through and creating a new, international systems based on OSCE and United Nations have to be part of that. And therefore, the role of the exiled Russian activists is to be part of preparing and planning this. So my recommendations to you would be to initiate healing among yourself. You don't have to agree on every detail, but if you are carrying a responsibility of the Russian soul and the role of Russia in the world, you have to be able to work together and address some of your differences and build the trust. And what my message is and has been, as you know, Dmitry, in the democracy consultations, is to center the Russian human rights and democracy activists in reviewing what to do and what not to do, including the travel issue, the visa issue that Boris mentioned. I also encourage you into moving into process planning and discussing among yourself the potential steps and testing maybe some of the methodologies. One of the things that it was not involved in the post-Cold War era was the truth-seeking, truth-telling, and healing processes, where accountability is being established through truth-telling. We know that incredible organizations like Memorial did that work, but it was never institutionalized in a way that it would have had an effect in the political system. My third recommendation is to advance dialogue. And it's beautiful to see you, Luba, here, but advance deep dialogue between Ukrainian, Belarusian, and Russian human rights and democracy activists. Then my recommendation for the United States and European Union is to provide resources for the messaging from these actors towards the Russian audiences. There is always means to bring the message forward. And we should not allow the dictatorships to control the messaging and therefore center the actors that really have the knowledge how to get the messages in and how to message their fellow citizens to collectively work on this messaging. Finally, among these dialogues, I also encourage the actors gradually to start to think about what a genuine truth and healing process between the Russian people and Ukrainian people will be. I come from Finland. Over the history of our nation, even when we were not a nation, there has been altogether 30 offensive attacks from Russian soil on our territory. Some raids in the 1760s killed or took as slaves about 25% of the Finnish population. And still, we have decided not to base our relationship on violence or hate or fear. And therefore, there has to be a way towards healing. And even though the pain amidst violence is incredible, the brilliant minds that are amongst you can start to discuss what that should look like so that it becomes genuine and a part of guarantees that this violence that we're seeing today will never happen again. So thank you for having me. I just want to share my commitment as a scholar, as a leader of nonviolent movements and reconciliation, and a scholar at US Institute for Peace. Whenever you need our support within what you're planning to do, please reach out, and we are committed to be with you. Thank you so much.